Been 8th in this session and only 0.7 off.
And there's a glut of riders actually. If you look on and on, just hundreds separating the next glut of riders all the way down really. One of the bikes this weekend, not to be. He's going to be testing one on Monday. But in terms of conditions,
it's really good conditions actually. Really nice. It's not too warm, so the riders will probably be able to improve their time
throughout this session with Sylvain Guintoli. But let's have a quick word. I know we touched on it earlier on today about pole position and looked to cut above the rest, didn't he? Could have been 5 wins in a row. When his teammates having such a disaster, what is it?
Making the difference. Valentino said it this week that Fabio it's him rather than the package. Yes, he has the bike, he has the crew, he's got the FIV. The one thing that could be a hurdle this weekend is tyre wear. Remember last year he was actually 1 lap longer, and I think Joan Mir would kind of, he flows on that motorbike. He looks so good.
And the big change for him this season compared to last year was the new 2020 as a rookie. Obviously he pushed Marc Marquez on numerous occasions, led most of the laps in Thailand. Yeah, well obviously we knew he got some talent, but last year I don't know, he sort of lost his way a little bit. Yes, he won 3 races, but in the end finished, was it 8th in the corners faster. Think of the pictures of when you're watching him. The bike's never out of line, or it's rarely out of line. He's normally wheels in line. Feel that front tyre, he can feel the limit.
And this is a really talismanic, important track for Fabio Quartararo as we switch to his old team. He'd been on pole position earlier, but was on pole, took his first podium in MotoGP at this track when he was in a scrap with Marc Marquez. The rest to fight back at him. So I'm going to come to you. Who's going to be able to do that, do you think, this weekend, Michael? We're having a look at Frankie Morbidelli.
You've seen in Qatar round 1, then he could bring the fight, but I think his closest rival could be this man, Joan Mir, around this racetrack, and taking confidence from that 5th now, but still a long way off Fabio.
Interesting what he actually said, didn't he, in the press conference yesterday, that, I mean, he didn't actually use these words last year, but he knows he needs to go one better and actually be more regularly on the podium, more regularly actually challenging for victories in races. And a lot of it...
Yeah, you didn't have the Ducatis that are really strong this year. That bike, Ducati, works so much better with the... something they're doing electronically.
All the riders.
All the riders, actually, yeah, because we've got a change in the factory team, obviously. And also, I've just got to add, Suzuki are now the only manufacturer to have a start device. So when I think of that, and I think of this track especially, it's a long drag. Unlucky there for Luca Marini's crashed. Stretches out. That basically, your first 10 yards really determines what speed you carry all the way down to 10.
Particularly, he's very strong, isn't he, on those early laps? Very aggressive, whatever he does, because he always he qualifies low and ends up...
He said last week about Suzuki being quite quick to activate those tyres, so something that Mir and Rins have been able to do on lap 1 is actually, they're quite impressive at, if they can qualify the first 2 rows of the grid. You know they're going to be top 3 at the end of lap 1.
To stretch out a lead and then manage, you talk about tyres, Michael, here last year. Well, actually, it's almost a different way.
Expected. He jumped off pole position and held the Ducati off until the final kind of yards on the approach towards turn 1, so it was really impressive.
Part of this session, Marc Marquez's lap time of 1:40.1, already 2/10 quicker than Aleix Espargaro managed earlier on today. The side of that tyre is harder than the left-hand side of it, and that's because this is such a hard track on again that have that right side that's that little bit harder, and people have found the role that when you do switch on to that softer
forward to turn 5 as you transition over there, it's bad enough at the best of times, but if you've got that change in rubber, so you go from a hard compound that ticks, so interesting to keep an eye on it during this session. Fingers crossed that's not an issue and it does work, because we want to see the theory behind it.
He described his riding style yesterday, asked by a journalist, as smooth but aggressive, and I think that's fair shout. Was it almost...
Yeah, it's not quite as smooth as Jorge Lorenzo, is it?
It's a bit raggedy here and there, but
you couldn't get your mind around it, could you? You're watching what looked like an outlap, and then you'd see the red indicators to go, hang on, this is...
And that was the race done right there, and we had a little bit of to and fro and back and forth with Pecco Bagnaia, didn't we, at the start of the race? Fabio Quartararo, there you could just see how he just fighting with the front.
Look, I'm smooth, I'm carrying corner speed, but look, I'm on the limit here, boys.
And I just wanted to show you something that is a really important technical detail is the sensors, the tire temperature, tire pressure, and temperature in the front. So basically, as the temperature raises, the pressure is going to raise inside the tire. Maverick on his front mudguard, you can see there that he's got a massive hole in the middle. So this
Much different specs for the two factory Yamaha riders. Perhaps that gives us an indication. Yamaha in Frankie Morbidelli. I remember when Yamaha came with that triple temperature, it just didn't quite go right, that did it, into turn one for him. That was great to see, wasn't it? Joan Mir, just as he goes into the stadium section.
Tip it into 11, and literally on one of these bikes, it's a bit old school power slide all the way through, and that was what to hopefully propel him forward and not sideways. It was a great shot, that great camera angle.
Down into the Suzuki garage. That was here where you started to feel, was it Aleix? Who was he alongside at the time, sticking it on the front
Maverick
row?
Vinales.
Maverick, wasn't it?
Yeah, one and two.
And Maverick have got a bike, but it was here, wasn't it? This was the one where you started to feel like Suzuki were getting things working again, culminating, of course, last colours, which slightly strange one there, but decent start to the session for Marc Marquez. Third
Dirt track style. He's actually more in line than I thought he would be. Got matching boots to his helmet.
Joan Mir, big changes in the Yamaha garage. We've already talked about Esteban Garcia making way for Silvano Galbacera. Maybe
we've come to see you because we'd like to have a little bit more light on the switch of a crew chief for Maverick. Could you tell us why this happened and where it came from?
Anyway, the results were not good as we expect to justify the investment, and we thought that agreed that yeah, it was time to do this change. And we all agree, and probably the time to do. And let's see, I'm quite confident that something can be different from these 20 years. And let's see what we will be able to do. But as I said before, I'm quite confident.
Caught a lot of that from Mayo there, basically saying it was, we've made such a big investment, which was quite...
You've nothing to lose, because you know what you're going to get with Sylvain Galbacera, who... I've obviously said his name wrong there, have I, Gav?
No, you're absolutely right.
If you continue with the system you've got, with the... Why not change now, actually, if you think about it, is that it's... The issue is more this man than whose chief makes Maverick feel better, then actually, why not? Because if we carry it, but at worst be top three.
Yeah, Esteban Garcia, you don't want to just be a fall guy for someone who's having her own switch for Silvano Galbacera, he's there, and then Silvano Galbacera switch for David Munoz for Valentino Rossi, and actually that got a bit worse.
It got a bit worse.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for people you trust.
Sorry, Miguel Oliveira
gets it all wrong. It turned to be there. Then he worked with him as a crew chief here in MotoGP as the lead there with Valentino Rossi, so they know what they'll get from Silvano.
The season, if he's still going to stay in his role as testing, or it's just for a stopgap fix for now, for a couple of weeks. And but again, yeah, that's one thing I'd like to know from Mayo, which I haven't heard from anyone. Asking him, this bike's like the back of your hand. You've ridden it on all sorts of different bikes. You've had your successes here over the years, and another one to get this turn 10 wrong. They seem to be flirting.
As in the tarmac runoff. One little mistake. It's such a fast entry, and what we've basically seen where bikes have kicked a little bit like this.
Was in that corner that Jorge Lorenzo did his best ever ride on Honda, didn't he? When he dropped the bike and took out Andrea Dovizioso and Valentino.
Honda then on the Monday test after it, he put the bike over the fence up at the top of the hill at turn 8. Or turn 9, sorry, and
yeah.
That was it. We never seen
angles of before. So pleased to see. You can see the different kind of tarmac there too, where they've replaced it, and the fans in the grandstand over the race weekend, as Marc Marquez hopes to light up that crowd. Extra energy for him.
He'll be looking forward to that summer break, having 5 weeks off, won't he?
Well, he says now. It's not writing him off. I'm not sure either of you guys would too.
I think we've all written him off for the championship.
No, but I mean for winning a race at some point.
Getting a direction with that Honda.
Yeah.
They're the two things. And the beauty of not being in the title chase, I guess they can, year to try that, he can experiment a little bit more.
Johann Zarco coming across in 7th. Talking about where we're going to lose him, there was talk of him going to every single manufacturer pretty much. Here he is again, back battling for the podium last year, who knows, it could have been him winning the races and actually him taking that KTM onto new heights.
Yeah, when you think back, that was, which we give him credit at the time, but you also have to say, if he'd have just stuck it out, gone through the hard yards that year, perhaps it would have come right last season. It's in the factory Ducati squad, I'm not so sure.
No, you don't. But you've got to, and we do, I know we all do, we've got to respect, because and we're all aware of mental health issues, more so now than ever, and it's become a topic that we're all, but someone like Zarco's like, no, I'm not going to continue with this team, I'm not happy, I don't like the bike.
Yeah, and I think there you can see the honesty we always talk about with him, integrity, and if it was about the money, he would have stayed at KTM.
Absolutely. You have shorts in, just crack on, mate.
They'll turn it around, don't worry about it.
No,
What, you're only just scraping into the points. Yeah, but, you know, that's all right. Going up the hill, lapse of concentration that actually you pay a high price in MotoGP.
Yeah, and he pretty much held his hands up and said it was done long. I think using the speed of the Ducati down the straight to negate any disadvantage he had through the corners, but actually watching him on that's the difference.
And he's worked on that, hasn't he? He almost, when he joined that Pramac team, he looked at get the bike working on a cold track in strange conditions, and he spent all of winter, and he'd go out first lap during winter. I like the rider that looks at himself and thinks, how can I improve, how can I make the difference? And I certainly think Pecco's done that. Unfortunately, 26 points, that's a race win already that he's going to have to make up when Fabio looks pretty unbeatable at the moment.
Yeah, well, he's clearly the favourite for stake from someone like Fabio, and he doesn't make a lot, well, the new Fabio doesn't make a lot of mistakes, does he? Actually, the Fabio from 20 and got to about round 6, round 7 before he crashed the thing. So, yeah, he's a rider that is definitely
with Honda. Now, the start of last year, before a wheel was turned, Maverick Vinales was signed to a 2-year deal, and he was stick. Thanks for your question. Just touching on Maverick Vinales, Meregali saying investment not justified. So I'd be interested to know, you're Michael on one side and Neil on the other, both look at each other going, no, you can answer this one. Dan's just asking a question here, lads.
Well, if they don't get a turnaround, I think they will be starting to plan for the future. There's a bright crop of Moto2 talent. 3 of them already stepped up.
And you're second in the championship last year. You've shown you've got the mental fortitude. You're on a bike now that's 2 years old, and you feel you deserve enough.
Yes, but not for next year, because Maverick's got a contract. I mean, the question is, can they... Yeah.
The answer. It's not just my question. Dan Robinson, 1993, is asking it too.
Yeah. Well, and when up is, we're going to find out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because we'll basically see where Maverick's at.
Aston and Sachsenring, the Yamaha should work, so there will be questions asked, and there's obviously Frankie Morbidelli in that Petronas squad kicking off.
Any people looking over World 2 Bike and Top Rack? Rascalioglu?
Good question.
The big issue with that, strong relationship with Red Bull, and they get paid big money from Red Bull out there.
Sponsor?
Well, according to what I'm being told, the personal sponsorship deal that Top Rack gets through Kim is the most successful World Super Sport Championship. It's a world title. It's not the most all because in Turkey he has got lots of personal sponsors, and he's doing exactly the same with Top Rack. He's promised to advertise sponsorship, and at the end of the day, shed loads of money. Believe that or not.
Yeah. Right, we've just seen Joan Mir come through, currently in 6th position, riding as a lone Suzuki rider this weekend, and
we've got here the carbon outer tubes, the fork outer tubes on the Suzuki. Now these uses them because they save a bit of weight and they give a bit of a better feel in the rear seat. There's more direct feel from the front grip. So yeah,
pretty, don't they, on the bikes?
Is anybody else at home smiling from ear to ear when Sylvain says, now we show you a bit of bling?
Official MotoGP test, big test actually, on Monday, isn't it?
What a great thing to be able to do. It's like, obviously, he's Suzuki's test rider, so he's used to it, so I'm going to ride the Suzuki round a fantastic track. That's the best part of it. The work that you go out on them first laps, I'll guarantee you, Sylvain will be smiling, listen to this. Sylvain, as soon as the lights go to green, he'll be the first out on the track. Pace, just so, because it's never a nice feeling, and I'm not criticising Sylvain saying he's going to be off the pace. You know what I mean? It's like, it takes, I'm not saying Sylvain's slow.
We do like to stir things up though, don't we? Yeah. He crashed his bicycle.
How, Gav?
At the circuit.
Tell me how.
He ran into the back of a vehicle.
But what are the rumours, Gav?
What?
Well, there must be some rumours.
The rumours that he fell asleep listening to your...
And one of the donor calls or vans were out on the track fixing some signage, which they do on a Thursday, by the way, because we go out on the track. He's a fool for doing that, but normally the track's relatively empty. He might have just glanced at his phone. But anyway, it's a shame he's not getting the feeling he needs, and none of the Ducati riders are. Let's see, the top Ducati riders, Zarco in 7th. Actually,
and that around this place where you've got these long corners, like we've just seen Maverick there sliding the Yamaha. I sometimes feel like Maverick invites the pressure himself on some occasions with the positivity that he speaks about during a weekend.
Look at the positive side on it, and believe to achieve, and you try and convince yourself, and you come out with all this positive deep down, and you somehow have to really believe it within yourself.
Just 6 minutes to go in. He's a massive 0.392 behind Frankie Morbidelli's top time. In fact, down to Jack Miller, who Nakagami, Petrucci's up against it. Alex Marquez having a tough time, and Valentino Rossi down in 19th, who talks about how much. And you do feel more and more with all the rumours that are circulating, that are going around, sounding like Petronas. At any point in a racer's career, you have to feel like it's not too far away from being announced.
No, it looks like it's going to be announced.
Staying on is that he wanted a chance to, give a good send-off to all his fans who. Oliveira running the hard front and rear tyre to do that. So everyone else on soft tyres, and the KTM goes.
It comes to grabbing a toe if one's available. Oh, this will be interesting. Watch this. Yeah. You almost need like another 5 metres of tarmac there, and it just made it a little bit easier for the riders. Maybe it's something they'll talk about in the safety committee. And
gravel trap there.
Right.
On board with Maverick Vinales. He's a 10th under through the second sector, through the kink of turn 8. Isn't it? Sliding actually through turn 11 for Oliveira, up and over the rise. Through 12, over the top of the hill.
Lost, made a few mistakes, a couple of crashes. But that second place, strong second place last time out. And he's backing it up this week.
9, Yamaha, 1, 2, 3. Vinales slots in between Morbidelli and Quartararo.
Look there at through turn 11. I'm glad he didn't. We know these aren't best mates, by the way, these two.
Yeah, the line perfectly here. This will be a good lap, this one from Marc Marquez, currently in 5th place. And across the line, quite early across the line, doesn't a stunning lap, 0.3 underneath the best. In fact, there's lots of riders, though, you can see on our screens, who are doing similar. And he's closed 0.6, and Pup, Mark Lloyd down there, little punch of the air as his boy goes to the...
Definitely is over my head.
Also, I will talk about that tubular steel chassis looking more and more like one of those aluminium numbers. Every time you look at it, it's not...
Can you start to explain that in few words that I can understand?
Yeah, apparently a little bit more flex around the...
With Pecco Bagnaia, who's pushing hard here, but he's going to drag a couple of other people forward. In fact, he does drag Luca Marini up into 6th place, but Morbidelli goes to the top of the timesheets with the checker flag coming out about now. Delays in Barcelona, you wouldn't think of it looking at it as it is now, with the sun bearing down on the track as Miller takes the checker flag. Few rain clouds around. So Aner Bastianini's going to come across the line now after his miss. We go on board with Pecco Bagnaia, but I think we need to keep an eye on Johan Zarco again, who 13 and flattens out now as we go, still dropping through Catalunya corner, the final corner on this. His compatriot has tagged along nicely behind him, and Johan Zarco is going to be fastest rider in FP2. Espargaro to switch positions with him. That's your top 10 on combined times on the left-hand side of your screen.
And able to GP back round this track, and to be 8th in this session and only 0.7 off.
Well, there's a glut of riders, actually. If you look on and on, just hundreds separating the next glut of riders all the way down, really, to Joan Mir in 16th. And Michael's already
in 11.
And that corner, I'm loving it, how we're getting another corner on this track where you can slide the tyres. If turn 3 and turn 4, I'm saying, oh, sorry about following you there. Really sorry to have gone fastest. And then Fabio having a little look at everything going on the Ducati, and now Quartararo in Mugello got away brilliantly. And that actually transformed his race, didn't it? Because suddenly, in that battle, you had 2 or 3 of them to beat, it changed your entire race.
Exactly. Normally he has Zarco, Miller and Bagnaia, whereas this time, because he was able to...
he's pulled the lap out of the bag, and he's not actually a one-lap merchant, really. I don't feel like Brad Binder. Definitely someone who turns up on a Sunday for him. I don't know how many mirrors he's broken recently, but not having a run of it, you would feel.